especially, I think let's talk a little bit one more time on how Canada fell short, in particular in that game against France, because we talked about the exhibition. They took care of them handedly. They get to that quarterfinal, and France just looks completely different.
Well, I have to put my glasses back on for that because I'm going to get a little emotional talking to you. Might get a little teary-eyed. No, I got to tell you, it was tough, and I really feel for the players first and foremost because Canada as a nation. Well, there was so much pressure. We've got SGA, we've got Dylan Brooks, we've got Kelly Olynyk, we've got Lou Dort, one of my favorite players in the league. Period. Great human beings, great players. Nemhard from the Pacers. My goodness, we had all these guys that were ready to go, and I think the expectations were high. And that's the toughest thing about the Olympic tournament, which is once you get into that round, it's a one and done. And that middle game where you go from early open pool play, you play one game and that's it. Win or lose. If you win, you're in medals. If you lose, you're 5 through 8. And that's where we wound up as 5th as a final placing, right? And I know there was a lot of heartbreak there, but I will tell you that, yeah, we handled them pretty easily, but I think the French were very smart when we did the friendlies where we played against each other. They kind of kept a lot of their plays close to the vest. I think they switched lineups. When we started the game in the friendlies, the one player that wasn't even a starter for us, didn't even play in the friendlies, comes off, and he's the guy hitting threes right out of the gate, and all of a sudden we're down 15, 18 points in the first 10 minutes of the game when we're kind of got a real heavy punch in the mouth. So it's a tough thing to react to in that moment. The pressure builds enormously fast. And I just felt for the guys because they really worked so hard. A lot of those guys made huge sacrifices, put a lot of wear and tear on their bodies that, that's their living, that's what they do for their careers. And so I appreciated them, but man, it really was worse for the players. I think for most Canadian fans, I think it's that reality check of, look, we have really great players and a lot of talent, but we're not the USA, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to have 2 or 3 great players. USA has 12. Right. And if you look at the USA game by comparison, right, they had the second game against Serbia. They're getting their butts handed to them. And then off the bench comes KD, who just hits 20 straight points. Right. So the luxury of having that level of talent. And then you look at the championship game against France. That game that Steph Curry played might be one of the greatest games ever played in any Olympics ever in a gold medal game. I've never seen. Jordan never did that in 84 or 92. Like, that was amazing. And the fact that making those big shots. But I think the world saw how, like, these games are close. It's not like you're winning going away. Like, the USA could have lost on at least 2 of the game. They could have lost to Serbia and they could have lost to France and almost did, right? So I think there's a lot of props out to the rest of the world. But for Canadian fans, it's that reality check of, okay, Our model isn't going to be we're like the USA, roll out the all-stars and let's go. We can win on talent and ability and our the sheer superpower that we are as a basketball nation. We've got to approach it more strategically and saying, okay, what are our shortcomings? We needed more 3-point shooting. We needed more size, maybe. How do we prepare those guys? Zach Edey would have certainly helped against France in terms of they had a lot of offensive rebounds and inside play that he probably could have helped with. But we've got to be a lot more strategic about it and long-term thinking and prepare more and do more to be successful at that level. By the way, which France did. Other than Wembanyama, everybody else, and Rudy, right? Everybody else on that team that made meaningful plays, they were working for months before the Olympics in preparation. So kudos to France. They earned it. Biggest stage in the planet ever. But I'll tell you, I don't even know what the numbers are if you do. I tried to find out, but I guarantee you 3 billion people watched that France-USA game. The entire world stopped to watch that game. It was amazing, a basketball moment. So,
yeah, I'd have to get the TV ratings for exact, but I know as far as basketball's gone in the Olympics, that was certainly up there. One of the most watched basketball Olympic events since I think you have to go back before 2000. I can't tell you where it ranks. It might be number 1 all time. And I'll say this much. Eye opener for the U.S. as well. I know the USA got to go home with the gold, but you said it. They beat France by 4, and that was behind. And I agree with you. One of the most historic performances in Steph Curry. And if he doesn't have that performance, they probably good chance they're walking home with silver.
Well, let's just look at it this way. Steph went like what 9 for 12 or something from 3.
Yeah, that's right.
If he just has a phenomenal shooting game of 7 for 12. Still a great game. They lose by 1.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's how great. And so that's the thing. That's where you got to give. And I'll tell you, France was not afraid. Like, I don't think there was one game that you watched the entire tournament where you said, "Oh, they're afraid of the USA." And LeBron was just that good. And I think LeBron. I was on another NBA radio show talking about it, and there was the argument of, well, was LeBron really the MVP? And he really was. I thought he was, but it was an incredible effort. But the last 2 games that Steph played for Team USA, that's like at a whole other level. I mean, as a shooter and a guy that loves every bit of Steph's game, that was the highest level of basketball probably anyone's ever seen on an international floor. Between him and LeBron, those last couple of games with Serbia and then with France were amazing.
Yeah, and I think LeBron was the rightful MVP. Steph Curry, great in those last 2 games, but pretty consistently. I mean, LeBron didn't have a single bad night out there. He might not be dropping 20 points, but he's going to have the rebounds, assists to go with it, low turnovers. If you want to nitpick on Steph Curry, you can say 5 turnovers, maybe too many. But yeah, he's fantastic. 8 for 14, 8 for 13 from the 3-point line, and 30 minutes to play with 24 points.
I mean, it's crazy, right? But the thing that LeBron did more than anything, though, he set the tone defensively. Like, LeBron, chased down blocks and the things he was doing and the risks he was taking, and here's LeBron in a normal NBA game. Do you think he's trying to take a charge, with a guy coming to dunk over him? And like, you could tell, like, he put it all out there, no pride, no ego. I'm just going to do whatever it takes. And when you're 40-year-old, arguably, between he and Jordan, one of the 2 best players of all time, discussion guys, does that kind of stuff, everybody else just has to shut up, get in line, and play, and they did. And so I thought it was phenomenal. And certain players had great individual moments, right? And Joel Embiid was a disappointment throughout, but other than him, I mean, like, KD's moments, Steph's moments, even Anthony Edwards had great moments. All these guys had moments where they stepped up and did big stuff, but LeBron was consistently, their best or second best player every single game.
Yeah, and we talked about it, I think the last time we had you on air. It blows my mind. 39 at the time we're talking about him now. Officially, I think he's officially 40 now. Looks like the most in shape guy at the end of those games, regardless of the age. And I want to talk about that later. I mean, are we going to see this version of LeBron? Is he still going to be a top 10 player walking into this NBA season at age 40? Like, I don't know where this ends for him. I still think he's a top 10 player in the NBA.
Oh, he is now, but I'll tell you the one thing. Okay, so what we've learned is the rules of space and time don't apply to LeBron. He's somehow in some alternate universe of physical fitness, right? But I will say this: there's a magic number, and having gone through it myself, even at 40, I felt like, hey, I was good. Like, I obviously wasn't in playing shape, and I wasn't playing for real anymore. But at 40, you kind of still feel like, hey, 42, 43. There's a sharp decline, and I will tell you, I have so much respect for his fitness and training and preparation, mental, physical, spiritual, everything he does to get ready to play. I think he'll be great this year. I think you'll start to see it. What'll happen is at the end of the season, we'll judge that thing in the last 2 months of the season, because to play like he played through this Olympics, like, he's literally got to get off his feet for a couple months, rehab, stretch, ice baths, and then recover. Like, we won't see him in a preseason game. He's going to start day 1 of the season, maybe, right? But still, you got to see how the end of the season, because the miles are really adding up. But I can't ever count against him ever, because his preparation is just unprecedented.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing for him as well, especially if they do want to get themselves in a good postseason position, I mean, on that Lakers team, he's going to have to be dominant once again. There's not a lot of room for him to kind of take a seat back. That team, unfortunately, despite his age, like, they're going to need every bit of LeBron James and Anthony Davis to really kind of carry them through. Let's talk about one more guy on the U.S. and Canada as well. The 2 guys that have some more question marks around him. Let's talk about Jamal Murray. Just was not his best showing. You could argue playoffs, he was great. Electric, takes down the Lakers once again. Even that second series versus Minnesota, I thought he was still pretty solid all the way through. What do you think went down with Canada to where he just could never really find his rhythm?
Well, there's a lot of guys. By the way, okay, let's put these 2 players together: Jason Tatum, Jamal Murray.
That's the guy I wanted to talk about. Yep.
And I can tell you this right now, and I've been in this position. When you're the guy, I remember when I was a rookie coming up, and all the players on the national team were 6, 7 years older than me, and they were iconic players to me growing up in Canada, right? You guys don't know them, but I knew them, right? Even though I was the best athlete and probably the best scorer, best player, you still get out there and think, oh boy, I got to defer to these guys. Like, when do I shoot? Am I the guy? Am I not the guy? Am I supposed to shoot first, or am I supposed to wait for him? Right. So what I saw with Jamal was a little lack, and that's just because he hadn't played. Of all the players on the team, RJ had a great Olympics. RJ Barrett, great Olympics, right? Did his job. He was great. But obviously Shea was great as always, right? But Shea, RJ, Kelly Olynyk, Lou Dort, they've all played. They played together, all of them, last year in the World. So they all know each other. They've all got a great flow. Jamal was injured last year, remember, right? Did not play and came in and literally had 4 or 5 weeks with the team. So I think the first thing with Jamal was he just never got enough time to get into the groove and to get a flow with those players, number one. But number two, I do think with Denver, it's him and Jokic, right? And he knows he's the man, and he knows I can turn it on and green light this thing anytime I want. And to have that mentality and to know that if you shoot the next 10 shots in a row and miss 8 of them, your coach won't care. That's a big deal mentally, to have the confidence to strike out. And I think that I'm not sure he felt confident that he could just take off whenever he wanted, because he probably would feel like, well, I got to defer to Shea or I got to defer to whoever, and I'm not sure I'm the guy. So I think there was a little bit of uncertainty there. And that's what happened to Tatum. If you watch Tatum and Jamal, it was kind of the same thing. Like, they'd get out there and do their thing. Like, if I'm Steve Kerr or I'm coaching our guys and I'm looking at our team saying, you don't have 20 minutes to figure it out. Like in the Olympics, it's like, we got to score now. If you get in there, you take 1 shot, 2 shot, make a bad play, you're out. Like, we got to get the next guy in that will be feeling it and can come contribute right away. So I saw Tatum, same thing. He's getting the ball, unsure of, do I just, every time like in the Celtics, right? Every time you touch the ball, he's going to go, right? And same with Jamal. So I really felt they both struggled with uncertainty in terms of the pecking order of where they were, time and space in the game to be aggressive. And for Jamal in particular, I felt like you could really see that he didn't have the benefit of playing with that team the year before. So, I hope he sticks with it. I mean, obviously it's LA. It'll be the biggest media event. 2028 in LA is going to be the biggest media event in sports. That basketball game, especially after this one, is going to be big because everyone's gunning for the USA now at home. And that would be crazy. And you will not have LeBron. You will not have Steph. And I'll tell you right now, nobody's betting money on Team USA that's led by Anthony Edwards, because KD probably won't be there either.
Yeah, KD says he's committed to it, but obviously 4 years away, health-wise, we got to find out.
Well, how old is KD now?
He's he's getting up there. I want to say he's 32. Let's double check here to find out.
Like 36. If he's only 32, he's in. But
he's going to be older than that. 35 years old.
Okay, 35. So all right, I was close. So he'll be 39. But I'll tell you one thing about KD's game, unlike LeBron. KD's game is so tight. KD could be 50 because he at 6, 7 feet, just catch and shoot. Like the beautiful thing. Remember when you and I talked before, I said in the international game, you've got to have that guy that just runs, catch and shoot, just catch and shoot. You can score. All you need is a phone booth, amount of space, and you're going to score. You don't need to dribble. You're just playing in space and playing off other guys in flow. KD was so phenomenal at that, And we didn't have an answer for that. Nobody had an answer for that. But the beautiful thing is KD doesn't have to be the best athlete in the floor when he's 39. He can just be long, guard a 2-guard, play in space, and then just wait for open jumpers like he got. And he was just deadly. But I'll tell you, but without Steph, I don't know if Steph will be there or not. It would be great if he would be. But I would tell you, it's going to be a fun tournament. I'm already thinking about, let's get ready for 2028. Okay, what do we got to do? And so working with Team Canada and trying to get those guys going will be fun, and it's going to be a blast to watch that one.
Yeah, this one, I mean, the gravity on this one's going to be huge because the world kind of, at least here in the U.S., feels like people forcibly had their eyes peeled back a little bit to say the rest of the world is kind of right on your front door. And then hopefully hosting it, you get some home court advantages. Kind of looks like France certainly benefited from it. So that being said, we got to go ahead, throw it to break. On the other side, we're going to keep this thing rolling. Be sure to use the streams as we will have the Royals on the brick and mortar. So that's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, Allo, Channel 961. Don't go anywhere. We got Dave Turcotte, Harrison Arns on the board, and we'll talk to you guys in just a little bit.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store. You're listening to One on One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At Fairway Meat Market, your family. And as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Now, through August 25th, enjoy 8-ounce USDA Choice New York strip steaks for $5.99 each, all-natural pork belly for $2.99 per pound, all-natural boneless shoulder pork roast for $1.99 per pound, and Busch Light 30-packs for $17.99 per pack if you buy two. That's all at Fairway Meat Market in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock with A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. If you're looking for an automotive repair facility you can genuinely trust, we would be grateful for the opportunity to earn your business repairing your vehicle. We have ASE master technicians and qualified to work on a variety of vehicles from Hondas to Porsches, Jaguars to Toyotas, and Chevrolets to Fords. We pride ourselves on customer service and relationships, and we would be grateful for the opportunity to serve you. Give us a call at 402-477-4660. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Husker Nation, your women's basketball team is gearing up for another incredible season, and you can be right in the heart of the action. Get your season tickets today and guarantee your spot for another year of Husker dominance. Witness every key basket, every clutch steal, and celebrate every victory with the most dedicated fans in the nation. Don't wait. Head over to huskers.com/tickets and secure your seat for this unforgettable season. Go Big Red. You already know that Select Plumbing takes care of all your plumbing needs, including water heaters, faucet repairs, leaks, drips, sump pumps, and more. Now, they're able to help you with your heating and air conditioning as well. Select Plumbing has recently expanded into residential heating and air, and they're excited to bring this new service to their complete list of plumbing services. Call to book an appointment today at 402-560-6197 or go to selectplumbinginc.com. Serving Lincoln, Seward, Milford, and the surrounding areas.
Be a memory for your grandchildren. Among Nebraska adults age 65 or older, 47% report current alcohol use. Drinking too much can cause harm to children, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, you will still be around for your grandchildren. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service, bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
For 15 years, Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping has been helping Lincoln become healthier, happier, and more fit through our proven combination of kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching. And to celebrate 15 years of success, we're offering you 50% off our next 10-week challenge beginning September 14th. That's 10 weeks of fun group fitness classes and individualized coaching for half off. And at the end of the 10 weeks, someone's walking away with $1,000 for the best transformation. Come check it out. What do you have to lose? Click on the banner at theticketfm.com to learn more. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill or 70th and Vine. And check us out online at fxblincoln.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and Truck Month is back. We have absolutely gigantic savings right now at Koppel. They are offering $12,500 off on select new pickups. That is not a mistake. You heard right. $12,500 off list price right now on select new pickups. Those discounted units, though, will not last long. These are all manager specials. You have to come in now, so hurry in down 144th Street or shop online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. Stock number G35609. 93 must trade.
Hey, Nebraska football fans, it's defensive lineman Ty Robinson, and I've got a winning play for you with Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical. Team up with Action and install a new Bradford white water heater in your home. And if we win the conference championship this season, you'll get a full refund. Don't fumble this opportunity. Sack your old water heater this season and score big with Action. Visit actionlincoln.com/Huskers to learn more.
Promotion valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, Order a pizza, the big one, all the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa,
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend. On the Block with Strick and Austin.
The kicker from Iowa, I don't know. What's his name?
Yeah, what's his name?
What's his name?
What's his name?
Help me!
No, you need to give the name for your boy.
I don't know.
Tory Taylor.
Tory Taylor.
Yeah, and you didn't say that.
That's what I meant.
That's how you said.
But I said Iowa.
But you didn't get the guy's name.
But what does
We're
that
asking
mean?
for the name.
I gave the team and the player.
You did not give the player. You gave the team and the position.
This is a cheat.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Old School with DP and J.
And, this part of camp it happens in high school camp, when they have a certain amount of time before their game, before school starts and all that. And then it happens in college and it happens in the pros. I had more fights with some of my good friends, the guys that I'm considered lifelong friends at this point in camp, than with some, over-energized rookie trying to make a name for himself. Seriously.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. You're listening to One-on-One with DP, sponsored by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in One-on-One with Harrison Arns. Not DP. DP's out today, but the show goes on. We got Dave Turcotte, as always, come Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. If you guys want to join in, use the streams, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, Allo, Channel 961. Like I said before, we got Royals on the brick and mortar, but you can still use that Starter Heyman text line, 402-464-5685. Turcotte, we left off. We kind of wrapping up on Tatum and Brown. I want to get your kind of answers on the Jason Tatum situation, because were you surprised at all to see him kind of being the guy on the bench? Because I will say in the playoffs, Tatum didn't quite look fully like himself either. He was struggling a little bit. Jaylen Brown obviously had multiple big moments in that game, as well as the litany of other role players, and it just kind of carried on over to the Olympics. Surprised at all to see Tatum just having his minutes reduced to essentially zero as it got to crunch time.
Not surprised that it is so hard to play that many great players, right? Like, even Steve Kerr said, hey, I'm going 10 deep, and that's really hard to do to get a rotation.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, when I watched Canada play USA in the showcase in Vegas, like Tatum made some great plays, but he really never really clicked in the flow. He was always a little bit of isolation. And even from the playoffs, I mean, yes, he was consistent and he was very good, but he was never dominant in the championship series, right? Mm-hmm. And I just think that there's some ounce of aggression that's missing from him normally. And we were talking about that before. Like, the greatest players that are the most prolific scorers are not necessarily the best player technically. They're just the most aggressive. They're the most in attack mode. They go at the game in a very certain way. And I just haven't seen that attack mode. I am going to dominate you and jam this thing down your throat kind of thing that normally I've seen him be like before. So yeah, I think your comment is spot on. Like, there was a little something missing in the game, in the series of the Celtics. They won, and that's why Jason Brown, I think he was great. Mm-hmm. And he's the reason why, I think. And like I said on the earlier show, Derek White was the wild card that really came in. Brown was great, was their best player, but Derek White filled in at every opportunity when Tatum was coming up a little short. So that was awesome. But on the Team USA thing, and you and I talked about this before, I said, remember, watch how the game is played. It's not the same as the NBA. You're not going to catch the ball, dribble, hang on to it, because the defenses can adjust in a zone and just say, all right, fine, it's you against five guys. Good luck driving to the basket. And at that point, defenses have recovered. I think he really struggled to just play and flow, right? Steph was great. LeBron was great. But those are guys that are used to the ball just moving, passing, cutting, and no one's ever standing still and dribbling a lot, right? And so like Kyrie Irving probably would have struggled on this team for the same reason. Anyone that needs to pound the ball. And I just felt like Jason just never got to a point where he could flow with the other players. And when he got in, the flow kind of stopped. And so, and you saw that Anthony Edwards struggled with that for a while. He had a couple games where he had to figure out, hey, it's catch and go or catch and make a play and move. So I wasn't surprised. It's just, I think where he's at mentally, there's something missing for why he's not as aggressive as he would normally be. but I also think his style of play didn't lend itself well to the way, that Team USA was playing. And by the way, like I said, neither did Joel Embiid. He played okay for the one game he played in that mattered, where he gave Joker a little bit of trouble. But hey, if Serbia hits a couple more threes, that's game over. I thought AD was a lot more effective. So there were more than a couple guys that just really couldn't get into playing in a flow European international style. And by the way, I'll put this back on you and ask you, though, that USA-France game, that style of play, one of the mythologies that I hate about the NBA is that, the NBA rules make it more entertaining, it's better basketball. BS. But I don't know if you agree with that, but I look at it and saying, I could watch that game, that style of play with players playing that way, with that kind of movement and flow all day long. And I thought the entertainment value was through the roof. But I'm curious to see what you think about that.
I agree with you. It's a much more beautiful game to watch. And like you see things, and like even teams that don't have the talent that the US has, the turnovers, despite the amount of passing, is compared to the US and even Canada. I think Canada struggles with turnovers a little bit the same way the US does.
Yep.
They hardly turn the ball over, despite the ball movement being way up for those teams. And then even on the fast breaks, I mean, the U.S. got caught with their pants down multiple times, especially earlier in the exhibition, realizing how much these teams really look for those advantages against an athletic USA team. And the other thing, which, it just seems pretty obvious, is the flow of the game is way more consistent just in the way they officiate it. The amount of stoppages, the amount of free throws we got to sit through, watching NBA basketball, it can be hard to watch sometimes. And I do think, that's never going to change. The NBA obviously loves to kind of slide those commercials in there, but when you watch that FIBA basketball, the game starts and it just goes. And there's a way better flow to it. You don't have nearly as many stoppages. It's refreshing. I don't think I see the NBA ever changing too much to kind of that FIBA style. I mean, to you, it feels like it's just going to be too oversaturated with ads that they can't get that same flow.
It's interesting because I remember you and I talked before. I said, you watch, like in the NBA, the way the defensive rules are, you're kind of you're on an island. So all those guys like, look at that pocket pass. Well, those pocket passes are pretty easy in the NBA because you got these massive voids where players can't hop in lanes in the same way. So you really got to throw a bad pass. In international basketball, they shift the defense kind of a man/zone. So that easy first obvious backdoor cut pass is probably not there. But, but like if you look at Serbia, pass into Yoga's second pass, third pass is there. So the ball has to move. And international ball, it's kind of like soccer where you try to move the ball quick enough to pull that third or fourth defender out of position. Then you can make a play. So the basketball IQ part is higher for international basketball for sure. But there is no basketball IQs higher on planet Earth other than LeBron and Steph Curry. And they were just and KD you throw in there, like I said, those three guys right there could probably play and win another gold medal for the next 3 Olympics for all I care. But I loved watching it play. But the NBA will never, change the rules. The game's a little bit longer in the NBA. I think it's 4 12-minute quarters. So it's 44 minutes, not 40. I think that would be great. International ball too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But the one rule I wish the NBA would bring in. I love the international rule that as soon as the ball touches the rim, it's live and you can knock it out. I think you'd see a lot more play. Like think about someone like AD. Like right now, shots go up and then follow your shot and swipe it out, or defenders, doing different. I think that would add a whole other level of excitement. It won't happen, but that would be in the NBA. That would be an awesome thing because it's a whole other stat other than rebounding. It's kind of a combination block shot / rebound play that you'd make. But yeah, it was great. But I'm telling the next Olympics is going to be fun. Actually, the next World Championships will be fun because I bet the USA is going to lose again, and then they're going to have to come back and win it back in the Olympics again because they're not going to send their best guys to the World Championships, and unless you send your best, you're not going to win.
Yeah, and I wonder if we're going to have to take a big embarrassing L, if embarrassing is the right word to use, to kind of figure that out. Because I think one team that gets lost in the Redeem team, when you had Melo, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James again at that point, what made those guys stick out and really have success is they were committed to it. That was one group that from early on, they all knew they were going to be part of that Olympic team years before even the World Cup. They were committed to being part of that. So when it actually came to crunch time, They're way more comfortable playing with each other. 2028, I mean, let's just talk 2028 real quick. It's in LA. They're going to host it. But I don't feel great about the USA's odds. I'm going to still say they pull out the gold simply because it's in LA. I think that home court actually matters. I think we saw a little bit with France. But once we get to 32, I'm not sure about USA being a surefire for gold medals anymore.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if KD is out, LeBron is out, and Steph is out, those three guys probably accounted for 70% of Team USA's offense right there, right? Now, of course, Team USA has plenty of other good guys. But without those three, the stars that are left, Karl Anthony Towns, I guarantee you no one's going to see Joel Embiid play for Team USA again.
I think he's done.
Now, Jason Tatum could have a comeback tour. I think Jaylen Brown would be great to see him come play. But then, so who's the next great big NBA star? I mean, the lottery pick this year was mostly foreign players. Top 10
the first two were France.
Yeah.
Once again.
Yeah, that's a little scary. But Canada will be better, and I think we've got some good young. And like for example, one of our great players that couldn't play, that's a star, is Benedict Ben Mathurin. He's off the charts, great player for Indiana. Probably would have been an all-star if he hadn't got his shoulder hurt and couldn't play. But so there's some, and there'll be some great teams will improve, and I think Canada, because it's in the States, is going to do more to get their teams together. But I'm telling you right now, I agree with you 100%. Like, who's left? Who are the great stars in the NBA? And I want to make one comment about the Redeem Team. Carmelo gets a lot of love, and this is why Kobe is so great. And to what you said before about the guys playing together, when Kobe told Coach K and made the decision, I want to be the defender, I want to guard the best guy in the other team, he immediately said, I don't have to be the guy shooting every time. And he took a role as a defender because that's what the team needed. So you got Kobe that's going to defer to Melo. LeBron's serving Melo. So Melo's getting all these great opportunities to score and getting into a flow because Kobe made a huge sacrifice and took on what is arguably always the toughest role. And Jordan did that too, by the way. Jordan was always starting against the best offensive players for the other teams, no matter what. But so that's why I look at Anthony Edwards, who seems to be all about himself, which is great. Love his confidence, but I don't think he's going to make that Kobe sacrifice, right? So I'm looking at those stars going, man, it's going to be an interesting mix. Who would be your top 5 players for the 2028 team? If you take all those vets out, Anthony Davis is probably back, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you get AD back.
Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, I'm trying to think who else is a great.
Do we think we get Steph? I mean, I know he's the shorter, but the 3-point shooting. Do you think you get Steph for one more run?
If I were Team USA, I would beg KD and Steph to commit to one more. The 3-point shooting is so important because I'll tell you right now, Serbia was knocking down shots. France was knocking down. If Serbia's threes continued at that level, no one was going to beat them. I mean, that last game, they make one more three down the stretch and Serbia beats Team USA and they're playing for bronze.
Yeah.
That's how crazy that was, right?
And if you watch the bronze game, Serbia looked dominant in that one as well. It showed you how good Serbia really was.
Well, and there's a couple young Serbians coming up that can play. There's a great basketball culture in Serbia, no doubt, right? And they're going to be 6'9", shooting 58% from the 3-point line. So they're going to be in there. But, I'm telling you, you got to have a mix of some old guys. If they come out there with only guys that are, let's say, 26 and under, all the young players, so Anthony Edwards and his guys, right, that are all 23, 24 now, they're going to struggle. You saw what happened in the World Championships with everybody but KD, LeBron, and Steph. It's pretty, and so it's going to be great. I'm really bummed for Canada, but I think LA is going to be like the red carpet or whatever. Like, get your media credentials now, because it's going to be the biggest event. It's going to be the biggest basketball event in the world.
Well, and the beautiful thing too about USA, when the USA gets to host, it's a little bit different. We have a lot of the infrastructure here already. So a lot of that extra effort is let's just do all the bells and whistles, get it all polished and nice. Because the problem with a lot of those other places is when it's the Olympics time, they got a lot of buildings and stadiums to put together to get all that ready. USA, you can make the argument just for the sake of making it easier that the USA should host even more, because you kind of see what happens in those other places trying to get all of that together. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, the USA hosting the Olympics, the way the basketball world is going right now, I want to talk about one more guy though. He was the unsung hero, and still Steve Kerr, rightfully so, corrected it, and he could be a leader of the team in 2028, and I think he probably should be. Devin Booker. I mean, he was fantastic for Team USA.
I forgot about him. You know what? He did the closest thing to the Kobe thing, where he basically said, "I'm going to defend," and his game is that way too. What I love about Devin Booker, that dude could score 20 points a game and not dribble the ball once. Him and KD. That's why he was such a beautiful thing, just catch and release. Like, so Devin Booker had, and the 3-point shot in the international ball is right. Like when Devin Booker shooting an NBA 3, I don't know what his percentages are. I would guess it's sub 42. Okay. Somewhere in there.
38.
Yep. 38. Right. But I guarantee you that extra 2 feet on the international game, he immediately jumps up to a 45+% shooter. Okay.
What do you think his 3-point shooting was, real quick, in these Olympics? Because it can't be understated enough.
I would say I'll say 52%.
Close, 56 throughout the Olympics. He shot from a 3-point arc.
Think about that. And by the way, how many dribbles? If you watch his game, it's just it's either caught open jumper or cut ball move, and it's gone. And I loved watching it. I think he is the unsung hero. And I think, like, I'll tell you right now, if I had to pick between Anthony Edwards and Devin Booker, hands down.
He fits the style better, right? I mean, especially for FIBA.
He fits the style, but he plays better with other players. Can Anthony Edwards make the most spectacular individual plays and go vertical and dunk on guys and make power plays? Absolutely. Much better, much more entertaining player. But if I had to pick a better player and a guy that I would want to play with and be like, that would flow and just and the ball's going to go and the play's going to be made just wherever the game takes it, Booker all day long. And he really was a great defensive player. He really, like, every consistent play, he just was in passing lanes, getting tips, misdirections, defending great players and making it miserable for them. And he's a lot longer and more athletic than people realize. So he really can make it. So he was great. I should have added him. Like, Booker should absolutely be 2028, hands down. That's not even a question mark.
Yeah, and then some of the other guys that I just have real question marks. And just for programming, if you're watching the stream, we're just going straight over it since we had a little bit of a late start with the technical issues. When you're thinking about some of the guys in the USA basketball that could try to be some of the newer faces, because we'll certainly lose some guys. Who it's all going to be yet, we'll find out. But you hope, like, is it a John Morant? Is it Zion Williamson? Is it some of these even younger guys or just great shooters in the league? Because, like, you like guys like De'Aaron Fox, but do they fit the style of what you're trying to do for FIBA? Like, who out of the young guys, outside of the ones who already made it to the 2024 Olympics, do you think can try to fill on that spot for some of the replacements?
Honestly, I think Derek White will have a bigger role. But the guy that I think is going to be a great player is on the Lakers. Connect, 6'5", long, can stroke it. He would be a great young player. And he'll be 3 or 4 years into the league at that point.
Mm-hmm.
When you say someone like De'Aaron Fox, I love De'Aaron Fox. He's absolutely a guy that should be there. And he and Steph, in a lot of ways, are like, Steph's obviously the better shooter, but De'Aaron Fox has that speed, but he's also can play the point guard role in a way where he's a great distributor and facilitator. He could easily step back and say, hey, I'll just get 16, 8, and 6, So I like his game. You put a guy like him with Booker, and now you've got creating, and so I think he'd be phenomenal. But a guy like Connect that can really shoot it. It really depends. Like, the Raptors have a great young kid that's a great shooter, but I'd have to go with Connect. I'd have to go with the guys that are on the team that are young now. I think Jason Tatum would and should go, because I think he does need to redeem himself. I think he's probably looking at it like, deep down he knows, in spite of what his mother says, deep down he knows, I just didn't get into it and flow right with the other guys. If I have to play the best 10 with what I got right now, like, there's no luxury of, I've got 3 games to figure it out. You don't get a chance to do that. But I think Jason Tatum is an amazing player. I just think the timing was bad for him. Like, you're right. After the playoffs, wasn't there. I think he's going to get his head right. And by the time we get back to 2028, he'll be a monster. And I think he'll be a leader on the team. I think he will be a leader. Booker will be a leader. If Steph's there, he will be there. I really don't think LeBron won't be there. He's already said he won't. But I think you're going to see Tatum step up a lot. And I think they will have Jaylen Brown will be on the team.
I certainly think Brown will be on that team as well. If he continues at all on the trajectory that he's on, even if that trajectory slightens a little bit, I mean, he's already a phenomenal player. And Yeah, just going back to the Tatum, I don't to kind of wrap things up with Tatum, at least in my opinion. It just feels like at times when he got into the pressure cooker is when things fall apart for him. Like all throughout the playoffs, it wasn't until they were ahead in the finals for that later game to go ahead and close it out before he came alive. But every game up until that point, when things got tight, even with the Pacers early on, I mean, he just really struggled. It's just getting through the pressure cooker, something that you need to go through in order to kind of get over that. Because it just feels like when things get tight, that's when Tatum vanishes. And luckily, the amount of role players, just phenomenal, well-rounded players the Celtics had, they can nullify it. But this isn't the first time. We see it in Eastern Conference Finals all the time with Tatum as well, where when it gets really tight, when the pressure is there, that's kind of when he starts to disappear.
Well, that's the same criticism for Joel Embiid in the playoffs too, right? Games, must-win game. And he doesn't even look like he's trying. But I think there's something else going on with Tatum, though, because there have been big-time games he's had to, and he steps up and makes plays. But he may not be that guy. Like, that's the difference between Kobe, Jordan, Steph Curry, the all-time greats in that moment. A bit like, and Carmelo and Anthony's another great example. A great player, but Carmelo Anthony never rose up big enough to carry a team to win a Game 7 and a championship either, right? So there are a lot of guys that can score in bunches over the long haul, but you're in that fourth quarter or you're in the game. You got to your whole life is made or broken in the 3 minutes between the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, and that's when you got to find a way to score 6 points in 3 minutes, get 2 block shots and a steal to win for your team. And that's what Tatum doesn't seem to have, that switch. I don't know, but I think it's in there, and he's a great player. Look, he's a great human being. I love his game, and he is so skilled. Like, he is. When I saw him up close playing in Vegas against Canada, he's so skilled in ways that most people don't appreciate. The way he handles his off-speed crossover stuff that he does, quick reactions with the ball in small spaces for a guy his size. I just think he's got to get a little bit more aggressive and get that killer thing going, and I think that comes out in the next 2 years. And I think he is going to be a nightmare in the Eastern Conference for the next 2 years.
Yeah, next time we're going to have to pick segments where we disagree with each other more, but I'm not holding my breath on him either with Tatum, simply for the fact, I mean, I always, especially guys at his kind of size, like DeMar DeRozan kind of proved, like, he didn't peak until 32 years old, which is bizarre. It's rare, but DeMar DeRozan statistically wasn't playing his best basketball all the way up until he got to 32 years of age.
Yeah.
And then you saw this version of DeMar DeRozan that was dominant, hitting clutch shot after clutch shot, being a real leader of that team. I don't think it's 32 for Tatum, but I'm not going to start sweating about it now, thinking that he might never reach that full potential. But certainly you hope it's in the next 2 years. Otherwise, maybe those conversations get more serious.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, Jaylen Brown will be the best player on their team next year. Flat out. I'll tell you that right now.
What about Brown's game makes you may say that?
Because he has all of the athletic ability and explosive lift of like Anthony Edwards. I think Brown had the same thing. Brown, until this finals, always deferred to Tatum. And I think Brown finally realized if this is going to work, because Brown was the one that was in attack mode in the last 4 or 5 minutes of each fourth quarter. You watch, he's the one saying, I'm going to go, and attacking the rim and making the play and taking the shots. And I think he realized, hey, maybe I'm the number one option. Maybe Tatum's number 2. And I think that's what happened. And Derek White was clearly number 3. And it was kind of like number 1 and 2.8, 2A and 2B. But I'm telling you, Jaylen Brown realized I'm the number 1. And if we're going to win, he's the only one that no matter what is going to attack and go get buckets. And he proved it, which I think, and he's getting the recognition now, but we'll see. I think Jaylen Brown will, Jason Tatum is great, but next year, I'm telling you, Jaylen Brown's going to be the better player between the two of them.
And I think, I'll be honest, I think he's just the better player right now. I think if I was going to pick this roster, I think Brown would have been the first option over Tatum. Again, Tatum, fantastic player, maybe more just stylistically the way FIBA goes. I'd probably want to have a Brown, just a better catch and shooter and defense as well. You know what you're getting with him. Devin Booker, when we mentioned him before, does he carry this to the Suns ownership? Like, do the Suns are better off? They finished 6th seed last year in the Western Conference, despite having 3 of the most lethal scorers you can probably throw on the court together to fit within a salary cap. But Kevin Durant and Devin Booker both played phenomenal throughout those Olympics. Do they bring that to the Suns? And do you see the Suns actually having some more success as a result?
I think they should. I think Devin Booker I honestly think that this Olympics is going to be phenomenal for his confidence as a pro back in the league, number one. Phoenix's biggest problem last year was management, ownership, what a disaster. I mean, they've had 2 years of just absolute disarray. And when that foundation as an organization is shaking underneath the feet of the players, like, it only takes, it's a game of millimeters, right? It's like, it just takes a little bit of instability to kind of ricochet throughout an organization. And so I think that if Phoenix front office, coaching, all that stuff settles in and they get into a flow and they get to focus on preparation, playing, and getting championship minded, I think they'll be great. Because I think you're right. I mean, I think Booker will be great. With Durant, it's always going to be about health and injury stuff. So if he stays healthy, Phoenix is going to be big time scary for everybody in that conference.
Yeah, I hope they do figure it out. I still think the Suns went awry when they thought they needed to get rid of Chris Paul. And I can't stress enough, league pass team, the Spurs. Go watch them. Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama, I think it's just going to be a problem. But when you look at Chris Paul, what he does so well, especially, is just being able to get everybody involved. Everybody was so worried about DeAndre Ayton for the Suns being a high draft pick. What's his ceiling? He seems really far away from it. We're a few years in now. As soon as he plugs in with Chris Paul, what happens at that center position? DeAndre Ayton becomes a machine. If you want to go further than that, you can look at the OKC Thunder, what he did for them. Where did Lob City come from? That was the Clippers and a big hand of Chris Paul. Now he finds himself with Victor Wembanyama on the San Antonio Spurs. Victor Wembanyama showed a different version that we haven't even seen yet in the NBA, with multiple step-back threes at high consistency on top of the defense we knew about. How dangerous is this with Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama? And I do want to shout out, this was on the news, Bill Land announces his retirement today from the Spurs. He was a great play-by-play caller for those guys. But someone else is going to be calling the action for Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama. How exciting is that group?
I nominate you for that. Let's go. Harrison, get out there. You got it.
I'm having a hard time not being biased.
The line is open. You know what, though? The one thing about Chris Paul is love his game. If he's directing traffic and running that team, they're going to get a good shot every time. And in the NBA, that's a big deal. You're not going to get stupid turnovers. You're going to get good shots. Ball's going to go where it's got to go. That's the biggest thing. I think Wembanyama is I think they drafted well to support him as well, with some young cats. And I think they've got some more speed to go with him now on the wing play. Wembanyama is about to grow up, and I think they saw him play last year and they said, okay, we can kind of put our foot in the gas. There's no need to go into the tank and try to, they're going to go. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see more moves here or there to make them a more now ready team. But they are going to absolutely. And there are certain teams when I look at, I think of someone like the Lakers, where their bigs are like Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is going to, he's not big enough to really bully ball Wembanyama. So I see Wembanyama disrupting AD if he guards him in the post because he's so long, So there's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. The NBA is going to be awesome this year.
Yeah, I think that's an understatement. It's going to be as exciting as college football is, I think. I'm just, after the Olympics, it should just put a good taste in your mouth about how good the world's getting. And now we're getting just these great players from all over the world. And Victor Wembanyama, I think you're right. I don't know how soon it's going to be before we get to his potential, but it's already pretty damn good right now. And you put him with Chris Paul. So with that being said, we're going to wrap things up here. We'll keep this going every week on Wednesday. Shout out Dave Turcotte, on time as always. Don't go anywhere. We'll keep it rolling on Ticket Weeknights. Talk to you guys in a bit.
All right. Great.